Hey guys, Clean Air, Casey Customs. Alright, so, but I do have a list of everything that you will need if you want to do this yourself. Like I said, trickiest part is get it to top dead center and lock the magnet in place without anything moving. What I did is I actually jammed a screwdriver to hold the piston at top dead center, and then I set the magnet. And that's the other thing, if you notice, once you get to top dead center, there's a small bit of turn, like it'll turn, you know, I think about 1/8 of an inch from top to bottom. You gotta watch too, they will run backwards if you go too far retarded and you don't have it in that nice spot when you roll it over. And mind you, it spins opposite the way this does. If you remember, like that's the thing. So your magnet always should be on the bottom, turning towards the gear, which in turn turns the clutch opposite, which drives you forward. Yeah, super excited. The Ignitech finally came in because we were having a mail. The mail was out in Canada for a while. They're all on strike, so. Alright, so I got my rotor finally that I've been waiting for, which slides perfectly on the shaft, the 40mm rotors they sell, which is beauty. And so yeah, and then on top of that, for the upper holes and what's gonna hold this in place, I'm just using 2 pieces of 1/2 inch by 1/8, I think, or yeah, 1/2 inch by 1/8 plate, and it's gonna screw here and here, and one will screw here and here. I am working on mounting my pickup coil. So these are the 2 little bars that are gonna be bolted to the engine that are gonna hold the pickup coil. They need to be 55mm long, and then the holes actually have to be slightly offset to clear the casing so they don't get drilled in the middle. I'll go over that later, but anyway, so first off, get your measuring device or whatever, mark out 55mm, cut 2 of these, and then we'll go over hole spacing. So after you have your 2 plates cut, so I removed the coil from the bike, so I got my 4 screws here. Next, now as you can see, basically we have 2 pieces similar to the coil. Now this is the pickup I'm using. It's just a generic pickup that most smaller engine bikes. Reason why I'm using this one is it sticks out the right length, so I can double nut the end of my crank and lock the rotor in place. It's got a thin base, and if you look, the bolts almost line up perfectly with the right width of the piece. So that's where I said hole placement for when these holes are done here is key. They have to be on the far side because you want it to be off center. If you have a something thin that you can dab with paint, is the best way to do this. Is sit your coil underneath, flush to the end, and just drop something down with a dab of paint on it. The screw head even will work, and make sure it's in the right position so it's sitting on the inside when you mark it, like so that you get the holes on the outside. I'm using Allen key as a marker. But yeah, so right now what you want to do is make sure it's flush to the back side and to the bottom. 2 little dabs. I'm just using motor oil actually to mark it, but whatever works. So just slightly off center. Don't do that. Problem is that they're not out far enough. Which you can see they're almost touching the outside. I won't, if they're not out far enough on both these, you won't get the spacing to drill and tap the holes on the end for your pickup. There, now I just gotta drill those. So I'll get set up in the vise here and we'll be drilling those out to the same size as this. I'm pretty sure maybe slightly bigger, I think, is my idea, so that you can manipulate it a little bit if needed. They gotta be accurate, and I got my holes punched perfectly. And the problem with trying to just drill a 5mm hole right away is that it can wander on your piece of metal if your divots aren't deep enough. So I'm just gonna do a quick pre-drill, just a small 1/8 inch. That looks a bit here, not even. We'll do a 3/16, I think, maybe 2mm drill bit. Pop a 2mm through it and then up it to 5. Like, these pieces just fit, so they have to be exact. So that's one, and I'm gonna repeat to the same to the other side. Basically, you need 2 of these. You can make them identical, just they flip over, right? So once you have so I got my 2 holes drilled, and I got my one mark, my holes drilled and everything. Now take your other 55mm piece, sit it on top, and then mark it so it's the same. But remember, before you do that, before you make your second, make sure that your holes are where they want to be. Like, I know even I'm a little bit off there, but we're 1mm bigger, so we're all right. But I know it'll be okay on both sides, and I'm close to the edge, which I like. So once you get one drilled, check it, and then mark it your next one using your first one as a pattern. Okay, so yeah, just one on top of the other one. Get your marker and make sure you get a nice mark dead center in each. And puncher, and yeah, center puncher, and then drill your 2mm pilots and then your 5mm. And yeah, we'll be on our way to having a 12-volt spark in no time. Alright, 2mm time. Okay, so yeah, remember, check your first one after you drill it to make sure that it lines up with your coil or your stator. If those holes don't match, start again. Alright guys, so I have the pieces screwed in there now. If you look, one sits a little bit off, and it's because of the way it sits in the casing. So luckily I made them as close to the edge as possible. It just clears on the bottom. I'll have a list at the end to show you guys, but yeah, 4mm, 1mm pitch, machine screws that are 10 millimeters long. They can't exceed 10 millimeters or they won't go all the way in. Alright, so I pull this off. I'm gonna put my piece of paper, which I said is folded 3 times. So if you look here, we have folded in half. Now I got T-folds and then 3. That gives us our distance. A good distance for pickup coil spacing. So now we take this paper and stuck it in here. Get the coil back tight to the bolt here. Right now it's sitting on the magnet. So because I have the bolt sitting all the way out so that I know it's at the right spacing, and I know I'm tight to the magnet, like if I push, it's not going to go up or down, right? So you want to make sure you keep this pickup pushed as tight as possible when marking this to the pickup rotor. And then center it like so. I'm actually not bad. I got about a 1/16 on each side. I'm gonna take my marker and I moved, of course. Gotta love that. Take my marker, do a circle. Take my marker and move again. So remember, without this piece of paper, it'll be too close. Alright, now I'm gonna take this off. I got my 2 marks. I'm gonna take my plates back, everything back off, and center punch those perfectly, and then drill them out to, I think it's 5mm as well, but these are it's gonna get tapped at 5mm, just under, so that we can screw the pickup directly onto these in one piece. Yeah, so they'll get screwed directly onto that. And then, like I said, we have a little bit of leeway because we have a millimeter of play. So the main thing is getting these now drilled. We're gonna do the 2mm first, and then the after the 2mm, we're gonna do the 5mm. And if you look, even I punch it with the punch, and then I re-punch it with another punch, so it's bang right on with a little more power. So those punches, they work okay, but harder steel, they don't work as good. There. So now 2mm drilled and labeled. I got them labeled as well, bottom, top. Okay, drilling time. There's my pickup coil mounted. Now, as you can see, the bolts barely come through the back here. And then I used nuts to hold them out a bit because they're the smallest bolts I could find that I liked for this job. And once I put this on here, I'm gonna Loctite everything, and I don't want to move. I'm doing my test fit right now, so I'm gonna take the screws out and bolts are in. So the cool thing is now I got everything kind of loose. I can position it up or down where it needs to go. If you look. So I can move it around a little bit. Not a lot, but enough. Okay, so I'm just tightening everything down here. So first I'm gonna start by tightening screws in like a crisscross pattern. This now, pretty much they were tight already. I had them as tight as I could go just to make sure I wasn't yeah. Go from here. It's not quite. It's like it sticks out by like an eighth of an inch. I actually might be able to grind the casing out. But, yeah, it's perfect. Turned out the spacing is absolutely perfect. So I went to the local hardware store and picked up a couple nuts to hold the rotor. So the biggest thing, which I already knew I was going to have to deal with, is the nut. If you look here, so these are M8s, 1 millimeter pitch. I'll put a list, everything that you're going to need, I'll have a list for. So yeah, these are 1 millimeter pitch, and as you can see, they're a little thinner than the regular one, but they're not quite thin enough. Now, they do make the thin versions of these, which I'd suggest. I can get any right now, so what I'm going to do is literally grind the bolt down so that it's just a thin little slot to lock my magnet against, so it'll sit in there like so. And as you can see, I need the width of the magnet plus off it, so oh, and if the screws don't tighten all the way in, guys, it could be the casing. I had to cut one screw short, shorter than the rest. So I'm gonna pop this in the vise here and grind the shit out of it. That'll cool down obviously, but that's one little tiny nut. So that's gonna stop the rotor from going down the shaft further. I'm over the bad threads. Now I'm gonna take the little dab of Loctite and put it right down at the base where the threads end. Now I want to tighten this bolt all the way up till it's at the end of the threads. And it doesn't even have to be tight, guys. Like, just give her hand tight, end of the thread. Okay, now gonna let that dry, but all is well now. Okay. Okay, so now, as you guys can see, I have, it's almost perfectly lined up, or it's hard to see from this angle, but I'm trying to show you guys. It's almost pretty much bang right on. So by cutting the nut in half, I'm bang right on, and I have exactly enough to put. So I'm gonna Loctite this in position, as well as have another nut on here, Loctite in position as well, tightened. And I can't see it moving. So everything's Loctited, got beautiful spacing. Yes, 3 folds, and then yeah, my little screw on the end.
I just added a drop of Loctite on the shaft threads only where the rotor sits to glue it in place.
It goes backwards. I put my pickup coil exactly at the edge of the rotor here. And when I say exactly, you want it to line up perfectly. So it's at the bottom of the rotor. Okay, top, dead center.
The rotor is dry and already set in place. I add a drop of Loctite to the end of shaft and tighten nut lightly.
Just hand tightening this right now. So basically, it's all Loctited to heck and hand tight. I got my screwdriver just holding the piston at top dead center, and then just hand tighten it. I'm not going crazy with this, guys, because I might have to take it all apart anyway,
But make sure when putting Loctite on threads to rotor are clean, but make sure it is glued well.
Anyway, so yeah, and like I said, it doesn't have to be very tight, guys. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then we'll show you. Take a look here. Good to go. So we're sitting top dead center. I am off. So if you look, there's still a bit of play in my bearing, like the piston's not even moving, and this is moving almost 1/8 of an inch. So if you look, I'm over slightly. You want it to hit right at top. In case, basically, if you line up the holes here, so it's the only crappy thing about using this pickup coil like this is that I now have to grind just a little patch out of the casing. Measure off the full hole. So like, yay far down on each side. Need a little square.
Charmin.
So yeah, I'm gonna die grind this out to make my cover sit on better. And I'm gonna try not to go through here because yeah, I don't want to go through. Keyword try. So we'll see. So yeah, normally I used to have an air tool for with the thin belt sander, and that would have worked perfect to do this. But yeah, I'm getting old and stuff's getting harder to replace. And it died, and yeah, they're just so expensive now. But anyway, I'm sure you guys have some better ways of doing this. Put it in the comments. I always want to learn a better way or easier way. And I do stuff backwards a lot. So this is it. Nice and close. You can see from the top spacing how far it sticks out. And like I said, it sucks because I thought it would fit. Of course I thought it would fit, yeah. But no. You gotta do just a little divot in the casing, like the 16th. And then yeah, it sits on there beautifully. And it doesn't hinder it because you don't want it to touch that sensor or push on that sensor. So yeah, this case has to be modified because when you tighten that case down, if it's pushing on the sensor or moving it, it can throw out your spacing. So the case has to be modified, unfortunately. Anything else to touch base on? Not much. This crappy thing is some of you guys, depending on how well you build it, this sensor works great like this. It should work great. I will release the video of it running in a couple days. Just not at that point yet. But yeah, it should work fine. Biggest thing is, yeah, your spacing, 3 folds of paper. Yeah, and then it sucks. I like having the sensor because it makes it easy to mount too. But yeah, also you want to have a good balanced crank in there and lightened. It'll make all the difference. Like even my shaft, I had to manipulate slightly because it was bent. Like somebody was just throwing these cranks around, I guess. The kids in China are just throwing them around, I guess, when they put it together. But anyway, and my threading was screwed too, so like right from factory. So you gotta be careful, very careful when you're doing this with the threading in the engine housing as well. No over tightening it, just gentle with it and a little tiny bit of Loctite. So yeah, best of luck to anybody that wants to try this. Ultimately, like yeah, if you want your engine to run crazy good, yeah, it's the way to go. I'm gonna be running this Ignitech with the tachometer. I'm gonna have I'm thinking I might even do an EGT just to, know where my exhaust gas temperature is at least, and then it's a little easier. So it'll have a heat sensor on it too. It's endless the stuff that I'll be able to do. Lots of cool shit. That's all I gotta say. So anyway guys, that is, yeah, the pickup coil installed as easy as I can make it for you guys. The guys that are going to attempt this and are running batteries, I run 12 volt drill batteries. What I use for my live are these little fuse holders. What they are is just extenders, so you can clip in and give power off a fuse. But they work great for adding a fuse. Right now this one's got a wire in it because I'm crazy, but you add your fuses, 2 fuses in there, and then you have a fusible link that you don't have to worry about frying anything. Now I'm running $300 ignition almost, so fuses. So For the guys that are gonna attempt this, main thing, make sure you have a good ground on the engine now, on either a bolt on the engine or a good ground on where you bolt the engine up to the frame, because where you ground your CDI, you're going to ground your pulse pickup too as well, and removing the ground off, so like your stator acted as a ground, so once you remove that, we need to add one for the spark for multiple reasons. So big thing is if you guys are going to attempt this and you're pumping it on a regular CDI, your yellow wire is the trigger, obviously, black's your ground, but make sure the ground is hooked into the ground system for your CDI for the pulse, or it's not going to work properly. Other than that, so anyway, now as far as charging goes, I have no idea still how you gotta manually charge the batteries, I guess. Oh yeah, and if you got better ideas, like I said, there's another gentleman that did this to a bike as well, and or I think a couple bikes now, and he has an even better way of doing it. So yeah, comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Let me know what you think. So in the next video, I'll be covering all the wiring for the Ignitech or Ignitech or whatever. So the Ignitech there's a lot more wiring involved. It's gonna be a while. I'll probably be a few days before I release that video. But like I said, for the guys that are out there, basically when you hook this trigger up, I'll put the link for these triggers. I'm pretty sure I'm not sure actually what they cost, but I don't think they're very expensive. I'll put the link in the description for them, and like I said, I have a complete list of everything that you guys are going to need, a complete rundown, and I kind of walk you through it. And it's not for the novice. Like, you guys, you're gonna need drills, taps, like you gotta know somewhat what you're doing. So, and everything has to be exact with marking, like pretty darn close to exact. We're only have a millimeter to play with. So, thanks for watching. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I can bring you lots more. Anyway, send it and save money, guys. Can't wait to hear this engine fire up tomorrow or the next day here. I got a lot of wiring to do. Too much wiring for a motorized bike. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, these fuses, great.
Always wanna talk, but you never want to smoke.